Well, this is week three in an 8 or 9 part series, finishing up the story of the New Testament, the story of the Bible, if you will. If you're just joining us back in the spring, Hillside Church went through the Old Testament with Pastor Lisa and Pastor Kate, and now we're going to be marching through the New Testament with me. And so week 1, we talked about Jesus turning the water into wine. You remember that story? And then last week, we talked about Jesus calling a tax collector named Levi. You know him better as Matthew. And Matthew threw another party of sorts. And this week, we're going to look at Jesus as no ordinary man. And the title of the message is, "The Demons Are Many." Thoughts I want to go through your head kind of as we go through this message today are, do I have any demons? Do I have any things that torment me? Maybe it's past hurts or wounds or past behavior. Or then do I have others in my life that I know struggle with their own demons? And then the other question is do you ever think you have too many issues or too many demons to ever be healed or completely set free? I've decided that as we look, I don't know if you've noticed, as we look at these stories, that we're going to use our imaginations a little bit, but that we're also going to let the scriptures or the stories speak for themselves. After all, that's really how we learn, isn't it? We learn best by stories. I've been accused once or twice of being a storyteller, and sometimes telling stories that last a little bit too long. So if that's the case, just bear with me. Don't nod off. Just shake your head. And, if I get going too slow, I've told you before, just help him, Jesus. That works too. Whenever you're reading the Bible, context is everything. What do I mean by context? I mean, where is the passage that you're reading situated in the book? Where is it in the Bible? What takes place before you get to the passage? What happens after the passage that you're reading? What happens next? That can sometimes give you a clue to what may be the deeper meaning, or are there other things that are going on here that I might miss? And one last thing to consider, okay? This is a really long passage, right? It's 20 verses long. And it occurred to me, the entire book, Gospel of Mark, is only 16 chapters. Mark's known for his brevity, okay? He's almost a journalist, giving you the facts. But in this story, for some reason, Mark gives you a lot of detail. Tells you about what was happening before. They got into the boat. They traveled across. What happened when they got out? Who was there? What was going on? What were the surroundings like? What did they see? What was this man doing? What was his life like? There's a lot of details here. And for some reason, I think this story had great impact on Mark. Jesus has called his disciples to him at this point, and his ministry is really in full swing, okay? He's turned water into wine. He's healed many. He's preaching throughout the region of the Galilee, we're told. What is this region, okay? It refers to a number of small villages that were around this lake, the Sea of Galilee. It's also called, if you ever read in Scripture, the Lake of Tiberias or the Lake of Gennesaret. Those all talk about the Sea of Galilee. Why so many names? Because the Gentiles and the Jews didn't mix. And depending on where you were situated around this lake, that would determine what you called it. I was amazed, whenever Dolly and I traveled to Israel this past year, at how small it is. How small Jesus' world was. The entire country of Israel, modern-day Israel, is about the size of New Jersey, okay? So whenever we talk about Jesus and these places that he walked and traveled to, really we're talking about what would be the equivalent of us of a county or 2 or 3, okay? So we're not talking, I always pictured the big world, going from Rome to here, It wasn't. His world was very small. And so you could travel in one afternoon by foot from one town to the next. Or if you had a boat, you could go from one side of the lake to the next. The lame have walked. Lepers have been cleansed. A man with a withered hand has been restored. And great numbers of people at this point are beginning to follow Jesus. Okay? They're coming from miles around to see this man, to hear his teaching. He's got this new teaching. They're hoping that they'll catch a glimpse of him. Maybe their afflictions, their pain can be healed. Or, as we know from Scripture, some people travel for other people. They've got close friends or family that need healed. Some people even think this man can raise the dead. Jesus is a recognizable figure, okay? He's popular. But, as we learned last week, the good church people, the Jews, the teachers of the law, Pharisees, Sadducees, they began to question what? They questioned his authority. Because, after all, people adored him, and he was talking about what? A new kingdom. A new kingdom. What kind of kingdom? A kingdom where things were turned upside down, where the world operated on love, not on power, where all people were equal. It was turning the world upside down because they were more concerned about their positional power than they were about people. He and his disciples at this point had been accused of casting out demons, which they had, in the name of Satan. He's been ridiculed at this point for showing mercy on their Sabbath, okay? Their holy day. He has worked to heal on their Sabbath day, which is against their law. How dare he heal on the Sabbath? They failed to see that these very acts themselves were holy. Many overlooked the Messiah. They missed the Messiah because they were more concerned about themselves than they were about the many that were set free. They were more concerned about their law than they were about actually living out this faith that they claimed it permeated every fiber of their being. They're walking, they're talking, they're working, they're playing, they're giving, and they're living. They claimed that this faith dictated everything in their life, yet they missed the Messiah. A couple of chapters before, okay, we're told that Jesus spent some time in his hometown of Nazareth. But he couldn't heal many people. And it says he couldn't do powerful miracles there. Why? Because the people lacked faith. They didn't believe in him. They doubted him. They rejected him. How hurtful that must have been, right? His own people, his hometown, many of them family, rejected him. And so we're told that he went on to another place. I wonder what his disciples thought. Here's a man who had done miracles and had seen these great acts, and then he can't do those same things. I wonder what they thought, okay? So if we assume, looking at this passage, that Mark's timeline is correct, okay? We're assuming Mark's timeline is correct. Jesus, at this point, he has given the Sermon on the Mount, okay? Sometimes it's called the Beatitudes, okay? Blessed are those who. He's given this message to a crowd of about 5,000 people on one side of the lake. And during this, he has multiplied a few fish and a few loaves. So he's given this message and he's tired. And so he gets into a boat to go across the Sea of Galilee from one side to the other. Presumably, if my memory is correct, he's going from the east side of the lake to the west side of the lake. Okay? He's in the boat, and the story that I told the children this morning, he's asleep because he's tired. And his disciples at this point have seen all these miracles, and they're scared because a storm has popped up. And if you know anything about the region, you know that on the Sea of Galilee, storms popped up frequently. Okay? It's below sea level. It's nestled down in a crater, if you will. And there's mountains around it and hills. And there's kind of breaks in the mountainside. And storms will just roll in out of nowhere. And if you're out on the Sea of Galilee, the waves get pretty tall. We were out there on a calm day, and the waves on this lake were pretty tall. Frequently, fishermen found themselves rowing for their lives, and less experienced boaters often found themselves in the water, swimming, drowning. So one of these such storms has popped up out of nowhere. Some of them are fishermen, but some of them, you got to remember, are tax collectors, and I wonder if they're not crouched in the center of the boat, fearing for their lives. And so it's wake him up, get him up. I wonder if they really thought he could do anything, or if they just thought, we don't want him to be surprised when this boat capsizes and we all wind up in the water. Jesus gets up, and he spoke to the wind, and he spoke to the sea, and they calmed down. And then he looked at his disciples who had seen him do all these things, and he said, why do you doubt? Why do you doubt me? Why do you have no faith? And they were amazed, but they still wondered. We're told kind of as an afterthought. They questioned, who is this man that even the wind and the sea obey him? They still don't know. They still don't know. We're told demons are crying out, saying, Jesus, Son of God, have mercy on us. And people in his hometown are struggling to even recognize him. And the people who walk with him daily, they still have doubts. Side note here, okay? Often we beat ourselves up for our lack of faith. But his disciples witnessed miracle after miracle, and still they were afraid. Fear not, have faith. And if he can calm the wind and the sea, as I told the kids, surely he can calm the storms in our lives. So they get to the other side of the sea, and they get out of the boat, and they begin to walk to their destination. We're not told where they're going. This may have been the purpose of their trip. And this man comes and throws himself at the feet of Jesus. This tormented man. We're told he was tormented by what? Evil spirits. He lived among the tombs. He lived in a graveyard. Okay? People had tried to chain him out there because why? They were terrified of him. He was crazy. He was naked. He would frequently cry out. He could be heard crying out from the graveyard, cutting himself with stones. And I wonder if he wasn't trying to get relief from his own personal hell. Do you know anybody who seems to be trapped in their own personal hell? We need to also understand a couple of things here as we look at this passage, okay? Jesus and his disciples were what? They were Jews. A Jew would never enter a graveyard, lest they become defiled. A Jew would also not touch an unclean body. And they were devout Jews. So this man runs out and he begs for mercy. As a sinner, he cries out, Jesus, Son of the Most High God, have mercy on me. Or the demons did. Jesus looked past his afflictions, much like he did Matthew's, and he looked deep within his soul. And regardless of his present condition, what did Jesus see? Jesus saw what this man could become. Jesus saw deep within his soul, and he saw maybe what the past life of this man had looked like. And he looked beyond, as he does with us, right? Our imperfections, our faults, our failures. And he sees this man's God-given potential. He sees a child of God. He sees a person of sacred worth, of value. And like he does for us, he was compelled to extend grace and mercy to this demon-possessed man. And so he says, come out of this man. What is your name? And the demons say what? Legion. For we are many. Well, a legion is a number, okay? It's 6,000, and it refers to a group of soldiers, Roman soldiers, who were tasked with keeping the peace in the Roman conquered lands. They were tasked with keeping the peace. How did they do it? They struck fear in the hearts of everybody. They were murderers. They were tormented. And so this group of demons possibly is trying to intimidate Jesus here and saying, Legion, for we are many. You need to fear us. I bet the disciples were intimidated at this point, don't you? I mean, they were the ones cowering in the boat. I bet they were afraid of this man. But I wonder if the stern stare from this man from Galilee pierced through the demons and they knew their fate. Because they began to beg him. They said, please don't send us out of the region. Give us another chance. Send us into those pigs over there. Pigs. Maybe it has nothing to do with the story, but I thought Jews wouldn't touch pigs. They were unclean. We're in the region of the Gentiles. Pigs. A large herd of pigs. A family that owned a large herd of pigs in ancient Palestine would have been very wealthy and would have had great influence over people, okay? A bunch of pigs, okay, come out of this man. And he's set free. And so the demons enter the pig, and we're told in Mark that they do what? About 2,000 pigs run over a cliff into the Sea of Galilee and drown. But there were another group of people who were watching what was going on this day, weren't there? There were the herders keeping watch over the pigs. Now, were they the family that owned the pigs, or were they people that simply worked for them? But I'm guessing, regardless, if those pigs frequently were there, these people, these herders, they had seen this happen before, hadn't they? This man lived in the tombs. How many times had they stood up on a hillside and watched this man run out of the tombs at passers-by? Women, children, and men, scaring them. This crazy man, naked man, living among the dead, coming out to torment everyone that comes by. And I wonder if these men or women who were watching these pigs, if they didn't think, what's going to happen next? Because they'd seen this happen over and over again, hadn't they? They had seen this man run out and maybe have stones thrown at him to scare him away, or sticks or rods beat this man, because they were desperately trying to protect themselves. And I wonder, was this homeless madman really trying to harm them? Or was he simply crying out for mercy, hoping that someone would show him love and compassion and set him free from his own personal hell? But like many times, we don't want to get involved in the messiness of this life. We don't want to get caught up in the drama, and so we just walk around. Probably has nothing to do with the story, and it's just another random thought that flew in my head there. So these pig farmers, okay? These pig farmers who see all this happen, and their 2,000 pigs are now drowned in the water. They're freaking out at this point, okay? And so we're told that they run into town and into the countryside telling what they had seen. Now I'm guessing they didn't have to go far. Why didn't they have to go far? Because we're told the people come out. The people come out. They go through the towns and they're saying things like, Jesus, demon-possessed man, pigs, cliff, sea, dead. Jesus, demon-possessed man, pigs, cliff, all dead. It's unbelievable. So they come out to see this man, to see for themselves, to catch a glimpse of this man who had managed to kill 2,000 pigs without touching them. They couldn't believe it. Jesus had single-handedly killed 2,000 pigs, and he never touched them. They were terrified. They were afraid. Get away from us, they said. Leave us alone, Jesus. Don't hurt us. Save the pigs. Save our pigs. Can you believe it? They missed the Messiah because they were more concerned about a bunch of pigs than they were about a child of the living God. They missed it. They missed the miracle entirely because a man who was lost, a man who was dead, living among the dead, Jesus had set him free. They were more concerned about a bunch of pigs than they were about a human being. And we're told from Scripture that they come out and they see this man who they had seen many times before, naked and in chains, cutting himself, unkempt. They see him dressed, in his right mind, sitting at the feet of Jesus, and they couldn't get past the pigs. They put possibly their wealth, possibly their livelihood before a living human being. We would never do that, would we? Mark writes that they begged Jesus to leave. And he goes to get in the boat. And what does this man who has been set free, this man who has been given new life, what is his response? He says, Jesus, take me with you. I owe you my life. You have given me my life back. Please take me with you. But Jesus' response to him is no. No. If you're grateful to have your life back, go back to your own people. We're not told what your own people is. Maybe he had a wife. Maybe he had children, brothers, sisters, and occupation. Go back to your life. Go back to your people and tell them what? Tell them all that the Lord has done for you. I want you to go back to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you. And what does Mark say? He concludes this passage with what? And the people were amazed. What were they amazed at? This man may have been the first traveling evangelist who traveled throughout the Gentile cities, because we're told he goes throughout the Decapolis. I had no idea what the Decapolis was. It talks about 10 Gentile cities scattered around the Sea of Galilee that Jesus would have never entered because he was a Jew. And so this man, through this encounter, is now going to all of these cities and telling of what? Telling of what the Lord has done for him. And it says the people were amazed. And Mark includes all this detail in his gospel. Why? I'm thinking this wasn't just a tall tale, was it? So what? What does this story mean to us? Do you ever look at people that you come in contact with and you just don't want to get involved in the messiness of their life? I mean, they have real drama. Don't overlook the people that you have the power to love. That you have the power to extend grace and mercy to. Do you ever look past the everyday blessings and miracles in your life because you're distracted by something oh so important, like a herd of pigs? Don't miss the Messiah because you're distracted. Count your blessings. Do you ever think, as I started off with, that your demons are too many? You have too many issues to be entirely set free. He did it for this guy. He did it for this man. Your demons are not too many. Lastly, stories have power. This man's story of the grace and mercy of Jesus Christ has power. All the people were amazed. Your story has power. Tell your story. Go and tell of all that the Lord has done for you. Go to your own people and tell of all that the Lord has done for you. Tell your story, because we're called to drag others from their emptiness, from life among the tombs, and say, come and meet the man who can heal you. We, Hillside United Methodist Church, are called to this mission. We are called to tell the story of what God has done for us among our people here in Princeton, Indiana. Because I'm telling you, the demons are not too many, and this Jesus is no ordinary man. As the demons recognized, He's the Son of the Most High God. And nothing is beyond His power. Not the wind, not the storms, not the demons, not death, not our lives. He's done the same for you. He can do the same for others.